so we'll continue with that tradition.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Mary Beth Brannigan from the Ecological Options Network, the Fukushima Fallout Awareness Network, and the Fukushima Response Bay Area. And I'm representing all of those groups right now in urging you to go ahead and pass the resolution in support of the international rescue of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear facility. Many people may not know that Fukushima has been pouring hundreds of tons of intensely radioactive water daily into the Pacific Ocean and emitting from the triple meltdowns and the other damaged radioactive fuel rods, billions with a B of becquerels, which is a disintegration per second, billions of the becquerels per hour daily since March of 2011. So all of this is traveling across the Pacific and is going to impact us here. And not only us, but the whole planet. But TEPCO, the company that operates the plant, has lied and tried to deny the scope of the problem. They didn't even admit that there had been 3 meltdowns until months after it had happened. And TEPCO's motivation, as all companies, is to make a profit. And dealing with this unprecedented triple meltdown and accumulating radioactive water to deal with it is not within their expertise, which is why we're asking for an international panel to be formed by the United Nations and to urge this to happen in behalf of people across the planet. The Japanese government wants to hide the facts. They want to try to pretend that it's all just fine and that it's safe enough to hold the 2020 Olympics in Japan. And the US government consistently has policies that favor the nuclear industry, and it wants Japan to continue to be their nuclear bulwark in behalf of the US against China and Russia. So they've just passed, pushed Japan to pass the State Secrets Act that will criminalize information sharing and will make it even more difficult to get information that we need to protect ourselves from the radiation. What we need is to have an independent panel of experts appointed by the UN to make recommendations and have access to the site and to help this company that doesn't have the expertise to do what they need to do to mitigate the dangers. This may take decades. It takes decades in a normal decommissioning of a non-exploded reactor. And now we have 3 exploded reactors as well as melt-throughs to deal with. A study by scientists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and together with Germany's GMR Institute have shown that the radioactivity from the water will be moving across the Pacific in a plume, in a concentrated plume, and will hit the West Coast in, estimates vary, but as early as early 2014, maybe March of 2014. And Japanese oceanographers have calculated the same thing. So we urge you to pass this resolution calling for this independent panel to be formed to help make recommendations and to ensure that there will be experts who are motivated by protecting the public and not just covering this up. This is essential. There is no safe level of ionizing radiation, and that's according to the National Academy of Sciences Beer 7 report that was published in 2007. And the reality of the full damage of 3 Mile Island and of Chernobyl has been covered up and confused by the industry and governments who want to continue using nuclear reactors and weapons. So it's very important that we do what we can at the local level, and I really thank you for bringing this to the City Council, John and Larry. Thank you so much, and we urge you to pass this.
Well, thank you very much.
To follow up on what Mary Beth was talking about, there are some websites you can go to get real news on this subject. One is eon3.emfblog.net. Another one is enenews.org. Another one is fairwinds.org. And another one is beyondnuclear.org. And if you'd like to get those websites from me again, I can do that. Also, in response to finding out that the plume was going to hit one of my favorite regions where I go to gather seaweed every year, which is Mendocino, the Lost Coast, one of our largest treasures. And the idea that we can lose access to one of the tools that actually helps to fight radiation, which is our incredible seabeds. That's where most of our seaweeds come from, actually. And we're trying to find out now we know that some seaweeds tend to be somewhat radioactive anyway because they take up radionucleotides that are already in the seawater. Some of them take them up in a very big way, and we need to find out which ones we should and which ones we shouldn't be eating. We also know that the levels that we are allowed to ingest here are much higher even than Japan. We really need to be talking about that, and I hope there's something about that in this resolution, because there are no safe levels, and it's cumulative in your body. And we see our friends and neighbors getting sick, and we know that we need to be really careful of our health these days. So to that end, we are putting together a series of informational events for practitioners in our area. And we are going to be talking about protocols for radiation, for making sure that we have the materials and the medicines available to us locally. And they will also be available in our local health food stores. We are going to also start having informationals for people on Sundays that will be free, so people can also start to learn, because it's a very overwhelming subject. It's a subject that you first hear about it and you just kind of go into denial. It's a very frightening subject because radiation is forever.
Sir.
Thank you. I'm Jim Heddle from the Ecological Options Network. I've been reporting on and helping to organize on the nuclear issue for almost 30 years. But I've never seen an incident as revelatory as the Fukushima ongoing disaster. It proves beyond contradiction that the nuclear industry is essentially a criminal enterprise. It's nuclear technology, both weapons and energy production, are the quintessential totalitarian technology. They depend on secrecy, on control of the population, of robbing from the public purse without the consent of the governed. And I think the draconian law that is now being pushed by the United States to be passed in Japan, it rips the mask off the illusion of transparency and responsibility and safety of the nuclear industry. And I strongly support your consideration and passage of the Fukushima resolution before you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And I just want to say thank you to Mary Beth and Valerie. I can't think of your name right now. Jim. Mary Beth was a lot more eloquent with her words. I mostly just kind of grunt and go. when it comes to environmental stuff like Fukushima. It's like, we all know it's bad. We know it's really bad. What to do about it? I don't know. But I know that doing nothing is a lot worse than just feeling bad and like sticking our heads in the sand and hiding from it. So you can't hide from it. That kind of stuff is affecting all of us. Our children, everything's children, basically all life. And you know, it's basically evil. Thank you for doing something about it. And I really hope that we all get off our asses and do something about all of this crap globally. Because if we don't take care of the environment, they're going to take care of us, and they are.
I did correspond with a disaster preparedness office locally about any preventative measures, and the response was a resounding nothing. I renewed my correspondence with them last week. I've yet to hear a response. There was an inquiry made, for example, about distributing iodide tablets to school children. The state responded with absolutely not, we're not going to do that. And in the meantime, no one is monitoring radiation levels on the West Coast, and that is called for in the resolution. So.
There are some independent monitors though.
Right. Government is not doing its job.
All in favor?
Aye.